Trump's tariff shock may drive a major shift in retail media spending. This is an article that I first posted for Forbes on April 8th, just a couple of weeks ago, and the rate of the tariffs, particularly levied on China, have changed since then. So I'll do my best to update it and be correct as of the time of recording this podcast, but things have been changing very quickly. Let's jump in. Good morning and welcome to the Retail Media Breakfast Club. I'm your host, Kiri Masters, and every weekday at 6 a.m. Eastern, I bring you candid and real discussions in the world of retail media and marketplaces in just 10 minutes. So bring your own cup of coffee and we'll get smarter about retail media together. President Trump's sweeping tariffs, including over 100% rate on Chinese imports, are forcing consumer brands to make difficult trade-offs across their businesses. But beyond just product pricing decisions, one of the most immediate impacts is going to be in advertising and retail media spending, where brands are reallocating investments very quickly in ways that could reshape the $62 billion industry. The impact of these tariffs varies dramatically by product category. Retail industry analyst Brian Gildenberg says that toys and games in particular are the highest tariffed and highest import percent category by far, and also notes that most of the higher tariff categories are discretionary, where price point trade down or deferring purchase are options for a sticker-shocked shopper, which means people may just stop buying these goods altogether for a period of time. With Amazon sellers already reporting significant cuts to advertising budgets and strategic shifts in campaign objectives, the tariff extends beyond product pricing and will fundamentally alter how brands approach customer acquisition and retention. Across the retail media and e-commerce ecosystem, consultants, agency owners, and brand operators are reporting consistent patterns in how these brands are responding to new tariff pressures. And there's a few different trends that I'm going to share with you today. The first is pretty obvious, that immediate ad spending reductions may hit Amazon's ecosystem. For many brands selling on Amazon, cutting ad spend has become one of the first responses to offset tariff-driven margin compression. This could result in a dampening of the platform's years-long trend of consistently growing ad investment. A former Amazonian and agency owner, Prem Gupta, says that a lot of clients have started to cut down on PPC, pay-per-click advertising, as a means of tackling tariffs. These reductions come as particularly the smaller sellers face difficult challenges, either to absorb the tariff costs to maintain pricing and customer loyalty, which ultimately strains their profit margins in ways that may not be sustainable over the long term, or raise their prices and risk losing sales momentum and algorithmic visibility. This challenge is acute for any brand that relies on international manufacturing. Eagle Creek is a 50-year-old adventure travel gear company based in Colorado, and the CEO, Travis Campbell, wrote an open letter to legislators explaining the plight of the company. He says, as of April 1, we have outstanding purchase orders for around $1.8 million, on which we would ordinarily pay $6,000 in duties. Our initial calculation for incremental tariffs on these existing purchase orders is an additional $580,000. Oh my gosh, that's insane. And this is actually, as I mentioned at the top of the episode, when the tariffs were announced to be 54%, and now they are double that. So Eagle Creek is facing even higher tariffs on that purchase order. For brands operating with slim margins, this cost increase often makes advertising cuts seem inevitable. The second big shift that's occurring here is shifts in campaign objectives. Beyond simply reducing spend, brands are fundamentally rethinking their retail media strategies to prioritize efficiency over growth. Harry Joyner is an e-commerce recruitment specialist who said that he sat down one Sunday to develop a 90-day tariff game plan for digital commerce executives who, during the recruiting process, are being asked to come up with a game plan for how we're going to do this. So this is something that a lot of his candidates and clients are thinking through. So this is quite detailed, and I do recommend you actually check out Harry's tariff game plan because it is very detailed and very well thought out. I'll link up to it in the show notes. But a couple of suggestions from here is that brands should reserve their Amazon ad spend for known winners and margin accretive ASINs while deprioritizing broad brand campaigns, at least in the short term. His framework emphasizes that visibility and margin protection matter more than brand building during the initial 90-day response period to this tariff situation. This reprioritization extends to SKU-level marketing decisions. As tariff impacts vary significantly by product category and sourcing location, brands are conducting detailed contribution margin analyses to determine which products can sustain advertising support. So part of Harry's game plan here is to do an audit of SKU level tariff exposure, noting particularly the top velocity items, and that brands should reforecast post-tariff contribution margin by channel. So this data-driven approach allows companies to concentrate remaining ad dollars where they'll generate the most efficient returns. And the final big trend here is a contrarian case for maintaining ad spend. While many brands cut back, some industry experts advocate for a contrarian approach, maintaining advertising investment while competitors retreat. Jason Landro is the co-CEO of digital marketing agency Nectar, and he says, now is the time to grow your market share while competitors are scared. Rather than automatically reducing spend, Landro suggests brands don't cut back on ad spend, but instead get hyper efficient without taking steps backwards. This approach requires a focus on advertising efficiency through conversion optimization rather than simply reducing investment across the board. Landro explains that you can focus on improving your conversion rates, you attempt to increase click-through rates, and that the tariff disruption is a potential opportunity for prepared brands. Catherine McKee, an e-commerce strategist, offers a similar perspective, saying that to weather downturns, you need to find a way to make back lost profits, and that while cuts are easier than growth, they represent a slippery slope. She says, marketing is the easiest and the first to go, but be strategic. Brand building now will make lower funnel easier in a few months. So if you need to make cuts here and there, do it on the moonshots. She also advises brands to audit their accounts and see what could be more efficient, making strategic cuts if needed. Now, it's also important to have a little bit of insight into how Chinese sellers are responding. And I got a really interesting source here, Joe Zhang, who recently met with a bunch of Chinese Amazon sellers, and he said that the feeling in the room is that these sellers maintain significant advantages despite the new tariff environment. He says Chinese sellers still have an advantage in the competitive landscape of the US retail market, and they can implement strategies that are much broader than those available to US sellers. Even those higher tariffs of 104% haven't dampened these Chinese sellers' confidence. So this is interesting and something to keep in mind for brands that often find themselves head-to-head with lower-cost Chinese direct competitors. One thing to note here is that there's a big difference between distribution options between Chinese sellers and established national brands. A lot of these Chinese sellers have built their businesses primarily on Amazon's third-party marketplace, and diversifying away from that marketplace, there's still fairly limited options here. A lot of them lack the established wholesale relationships and operational infrastructure needed to sell through traditional retail channels that operate on a wholesale model. And so this creates a strategic opening for national brands that already sell through multiple retailers. As tariffs squeeze margins and intensify competition on Amazon, these brands might find that their marketing dollars work harder on less saturated retail media networks. National brands that sell across multiple retailers may find some respite in ad costs and competition in their retail partners outside of Amazon. Think about established networks like Best Buy and Home Depot and other category-specific retailers could offer these brands a bit of a safe haven where their established vendor relationships provide advantages that marketplace-only sellers can't easily replicate. So as we're navigating the early weeks of the tariff impact, the retail media landscape faces a period of significant disruption and potential restructuring. Retail media platforms are probably going to see volatile spending patterns as brands adjust to new cost structures and reassess their channel strategies. But the platforms that can demonstrate clear return on ad spend and provide tools for precision targeting of high margin products may find opportunities to increase their share of brand budgets, even as those budgets face unprecedented pressure. Well, that is it for today. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Retail Media Breakfast Club. We meet here every day at 6 a.m. Eastern. So be sure to subscribe and get your daily dose of insights, trends, and hot takes in the world of retail media and marketplaces.